record myself. I don't know if this is going to be the best way, but okay, so welcome. It's really exciting that you're here, because I suppose for all of us at some point we thought, was it going to happen? Would we be able to be here? So it's even more special because of that. It's a really amazing year of education, the first year of foundation, and hopefully through these slides I'll show you what I mean by that and what the content of the course will be. So I'm Chloe Briggs, and I'm your point of this one. I'm going to have to double click on everything. I don't know if I'm going to get the trick of doing this. Hold on. Doing two screens at the same time. There we go. So I'm your point of contact, and it's really important that you communicate with me, because if I know there's a problem, I can help you. And there's, we're all adjusting. You've all arrived from different parts of the world. You're all getting used to Paris, getting used to the course, getting used to all the things we're asking from you. But I'm here to help you. My email is here. You'll receive an email from me this week, so you'll know how to contact me. And my office hours are slightly different this semester, because I'm working with the online students on Friday. But basically through email, I'm contactable all the time. But the days I will be present in school will be always Mondays and Tuesdays. So you can make an appointment to see me anytime. And because of the health and safety, you have to make an appointment so that we don't have a big group of students in my office. But I'm really quick on the emails, and I get back to you straight away. So every year I write a list of thoughts about the foundation year, and it's always like what I learned from the previous year and what I can share with you to make this year good. So this is an amazing image by a student who was here last year called Mayon, who made this self-portrait as part of a project in a course called City of Studio, which you'll all be taking. And it had a really, this was fall last year, and it had an amazing title, which was May We Live in Interesting Times. And we didn't actually then know what kind of times we would be in. So this was about a dream. She worked with her identity. She did lots of images of herself with a blue face that kind of had hints from this recurring dream. Anyway, so just to use that as to illustrate my ideas for my thoughts on the foundation year. A school is not just the building, it's the energy that's generated in the building. So we, your teachers, all of us, we are the school. It's a amorphous, moving thing. It's energy. A school is energy. You've just entered a community, and as a member, you have a commitment to ensure that it is positive, warm, respectful, creative, inspiring. And that's all of our mission. It's all of us have to take part in that. So this can be achieved in really simple ways. Say hello and smile at people. We can't smile because we've got masks on, but we can look at each other. Listen and include others. Take every opportunity to occupy the spaces in the school, to claim them as your own, and then share them. Take seriously the fact that the school is yours. The energy that you put into school is the energy that you'll get out of it. That sounds a bit like a self-help thing, but it's true. You do, as much as it's an exchange. I always think in class teaching is an exchange. You come with your work and your thing, and I come back. It's this kind of constant, it's like to and fro, which is a dynamic that we're making. So learning does not happen to you. It happens when you act, when you exchange, and when you open your mind. So these exchanges in the corridor, be smiling and saying hello, on the way to a field trip, and we'll be taking you out a lot, over lunch, I think are as much part of the course as the official learning in the classroom. And I've learned maybe more from my students on the metro going somewhere, or in the spaces that are not the kind of official, you know, formal places of learning. So your work, and by extension you, will thrive in the environment that we make if we decide to make it the best that we can. And so for this, we are all responsible. And I shared some thoughts with the online students, just about kind of respectful practice online too, but there's just a couple of things that are really, that I haven't said in that first list, is that when we address each other and when we write to each other, I'm old-fashioned in this way, like an email's not a text message, it's like a letter. We sign off with our names, you address me by name and we sign off with our names. We learn each other's names, I'm really going to work hard on that, and we pronounce them correctly and learn each other's pronouns. We do not use cell phones. We were talking about swearing earlier, and I said that's the only time when I actually have sworn in the class, because I get completely mad if I'm talking and someone's on their cell phone. So it's no other distractions. When you're in class, we're in there together working. Listen when a classmate or teacher is speaking, and then support each other, encourage each other. And then this is one last note, which is, you know, all of it's important, but I think I met you all in the interview process, and everyone talks about wanting to come to this school because of the multicultural, diverse community that we are. I mean, that's the richness of your education. So in connection to that, recognize, celebrate, and learn from each other's different cultural backgrounds, experiences, and learning styles, understanding them as one of the richest parts of our education. So I'll move on. This is a very beautiful painting by a woman called Aika, who's now in her senior year of communication design. I'm just trying to show you briefly, this is a project that we did for 4 years in collaboration with Central St. Martin's, which is a famous school in London, which I love showing these projects because there was something that came out of the invitations that was really exciting, that we put into publications, and I think really gives a kind of sense of the essence of the program. We did each project around a theme. This one was called Alternative Passport. So students were asked to create an alternative passport. This one, no, sorry, I've put all different kind of things. I shouldn't move out the thing here. This one was an alternative passport where the fine art who went into fine art, he took on a kind of different alter ego on every page, and kind of changed his identity on actually a little passport-sized book. This was a project called Europe, where the student painted the pills with every colour of every flag in the European Union, apart from the UK. We were just talking about that when Lily. This was a project called Inhabit, and the student was in the jewellery department at Central St. Martin's, and she said, I want to make a piece of jewellery for my hamster to inhabit. And we thought she was like, no way is she going to do that, and she actually did. So there's the hamster in the thing. This was Europe too. It was by a Lithuanian student who made a coat, because Lithuania was actually out of the European Union until one point, and she felt that actually becoming part of Europe, putting on the coat made them feel kind of warm and connected. This was a project. Again, this was Inhabit by an Icelandic student and her Nigerian boyfriend, and she took like traditional motifs from their two different cultures and made this like face paint. And here was a collaboration between students between London and Paris, where one worked on a collage and sent it to another, and they corresponded over time and wrote to each other and made this kind of joint sketchbook. That's me. So just like to introduce me a little bit through this slide. So I'm an artist, I draw, and in 2013 I created like an initiative called Drawing is Free, and the idea was, it came out of Paris College of Art, the idea was that it was I would create a moment or moments where people could come together freely around the practice of drawing without criticism or judgment. And it would be open to the wider public, not just people at PCA. And so every Monday morning over these years, we've had an hour of time where we draw together. All kinds of people come. I have an 80-year-old come, for a lady from the Cartier, students from here, all kinds of people. And then during lockdown, we carried on in confinement, and it was really powerful actually. So we met each other every Monday at this time. And this is a drawing that one of your teachers made of me. She's called Elsa. But I put this here because this fall, because I can't do it because of health and safety here, but I've set up 4 events called Drawing is Free in Conversation. And they're actually with students who are alumni from here doing amazing things in the world. So I'll let you know when they are. And it's on a Sunday afternoon and you can join on Zoom. The first one's with a musician in New York, and we'll be drawing him, and he'll be talking about well, he's a photographer actually, he studied photography, he came on study abroad. So, to your course, 1/3 of your studies here is academic, is critical studies and art history, liberal studies and art history. In the first year, you will all be taking a course called Introduction to Art and Design, a course called Critical Thinking and Writing, and in the spring, and that's 1 and 2, and in the spring, a course called Paris Yesterday and Tomorrow, which is a really interesting course, which is about how artists and designers, just like you are, coming to Paris over the course of history. There's amazing examples of people who've used Paris as a site of inspiration for their work. It's a like incredible mix of cultures and influences that have like passed through this city, not just in visual art, but in writing. So the Liberal Studies Department, has a collaboration with a foundation called the Terra Foundation that houses a collection of books on the history of American art. So there are these opportunities from those departments to go and work in libraries and with connections with institutions in Paris. You'll see that over time being here. What's really great too is that it's learning about art history and learning about reading and writing, but through art and design. So you're encouraged to draw also and to take photographs, to have sketchbooks, to kind of learn in the way that you've chosen to learn here. It goes without saying, I think, and I think most of you mentioned this in the interview, we have the most amazing resources in the city. We can actually go and take you and see the real objects and the real paintings, the real sites. So the city is as much your school as anything else. We were talking about learning French. The French classes are really fun also because they're connected to art and design and to your interests. There are all these different events and moments when you can learn and speak with people. There's informal moments too at lunchtime where you can have one-to-one conversations with people. Please interrupt me if you have any questions along the way, by the way. Hopefully I'll get through everything clearly, so it's clear to you. So everyone, including photo first years, you have a course on Thursdays called City as Studio. And just on the back of what I've just said, Paris is our extended classroom. We are in the most amazing city. And the idea is that we take you out to use the city to inspire you. And it's always around a theme. I'm going to show you some of the work that's come out of this course. It's taught by an artist called Catherine Vincer. She's actually an artist and graphic designer, Norwegian. And here, I put a slide in about the importance of sketchbooks and having a sketchbook with you. Who likes using sketchbooks? That's an interest. You have them already. Yeah, we'll get you into it. So of having a book where you're noting and collecting and basically building a diary of your time here, which is very special. Look back on that. This is an artist that was invited a while ago. It's actually the canal that's pretty near school. One of the themes of the course was water at one point, so we looked at the way water is used in the city, where you can find it. The canal's a very interesting kind of channel through. Also walking, you're going to be walking a lot, and the idea that you can map a journey, but you can map ideas. The course is essentially about how you generate ideas and evolve them and stay with them. And the students really love it because I think it's the course that feels the most free and connected potentially into what they want to do in the future, but it's also the most open in terms of materials. And this is work from the students last year. The student on the left, Dia Baxi, she's from Singapore, and she made the title of the project was Color. She made a project about skin lightening products that are really promoted, and basically the kind of horror of that idea. And on the right was actually part of a workshop with an artist called Magali Rizzo, where students were actually transcribed a photograph of a family member or loved one with sewing. So they were kind of drawing with sewing and kind of touching the photograph in a very different way. And it doesn't matter if you're good at sewing or not, because it wasn't about that. It's about finding your way with thread. Actually, that student, interestingly, this student on the right was a photo student, and now she's in fine art. It actually kind of came through that project. There's something about the touch that was very important to her, of making an image through touch in that way. This was a performance by a British student called Kirsten, who took the history of like the marriage rituals in her family. It was a very, I want to say violent, but that's not very, it wasn't violent, but it was very impressive experience watching her do. She was in this kind of wedding dress and then had these kind of cups of paint, and broke this cup that was kind of handed on to her from family generations, kind of making statements about the marriage ritual. And these are also images from the Color project in painting and photography. That's an amazing street not too far from here, where all the traditional Parisian buildings are colored that very, very, very bright colors. Here, water. Again, this student made these cutout wooden blocks, basically working with ideas of the refugees, using water to escape countries and the little characters, kind of the little people would kind of fall out of the boat, and at the top here was a project basically alerting us to how much water is wasted and we're using every day on the bottles, on the actual labels. And here, this map where what is illuminated is parts of the world that has access to running water, and what's dark doesn't, fresh water. That was very beautiful. It was this metallic paint she used on this black background. And here, this was again very striking work on the right, where she took all the pages of Vanity Fair magazine that of fashion models, and she superimposed images of water onto, like, what am I trying to say? fashion designers' bags or glasses, or but basically in this magazine where you wouldn't be thinking about water and it being misused, you know, our excess use of it, or just being made aware of it in something we look at every day. So drawing, I teach drawing with, and this the photo first is you won't be taking drawing, but I co-teach with a Sicilian artist called Gaetano. I teach on Tuesdays and he teaches on Fridays, so you have 2.5 hours with me and 2.5 hours with him. And it's about so many things, drawing. You will see. We will take you through in the first semester all the traditional ways of working with materials and tools and looking, and the kind of classic workshops. We end with the figure. Oops. And right at the end of the semester, we do lots of experimental things with different materials, using each other to draw from music, looking at fashion illustrations. So we go through this very kind of classic ways of working into more expressive and contemporary, although arguably all kind of drawing is contemporary anyway, but I'll be talking to you about that. But here you can see how drawing can be so many things, and just this is an example of work by one student, a beautiful study of a pomegranate. And then here was a work she made for a final project called Night, where her mum had, when she was a child and couldn't sleep, she said these little figures went into her brain and fixed her worries. And this was her memory. So she made this blanket that was like what she had in her head when she was a kid. So it was again like drawing as sewing. And this was a study abroad student who took the class. Sometimes we have students from other departments, and she was in the communication design department. A really emotive and personal image from the Rodin Museum where she was drawing. The student on the right went to study architecture, so he was drawing on the digitally. And this was, he took a map, an aerial view of New York, and then split it. And this student is in the fine arts department, Elisa, and she was, you know, you could call this more painting, but in the final project called Night, just went on this whole series of experiments, different papers, different different techniques. And here is a student who went to study illustration in the end, and she made a work about having insomnia. And it was like a kind of cartoon to help people through her struggle with that, what she'd learned from her personal struggle. And this was on the right-hand side. A student went in to do fashion styling in the end. Used wood to make these drawings on. Different interpretations of a skull. So this is second semester, it becomes very free, and different ways of drawing encouraged, and different surfaces to work on. You can see on a shirt, or again, a project called Night. And this, I love showing this project. It's so interesting. It's so much connected to who this student was. He's half Danish, half Nigerian, and he we had a piece of bamboo in the classroom, and he painted it with black paint and then etched in. This is a traditional way of telling a story, where the stick is turned and then the story spirals up. And he played with like traditional figures, but added different clues and contemporary life into this this evolving story as the stick turned. He went to do communication design. And finally, this just happened this year in confinement. A Portuguese student who collected these sticks from her garden We have a project now called the Final Free Project, where it's entirely yours and you invent it, you create the work you are compelled to make at that point at the end. And so she made these drawings using the sticks and then combining them with the sticks. So very sculptural. She's going to be a sculptor. This is the final slide for the drawing. We are going to this year again do a collaboration with the London College of Fashion, where we join up via Zoom, and we draw live with their students and they draw with us. And the head of illustration there will be teaching you and I'll be teaching them. So it's like a really, it's very exciting dynamic in the room. You'll all be taking Introduction to Digital Media. And it's actually now not with a teacher called Max Franklin, but with an alumni from the Masters in Photography and Image Making program here called Lucas Pandolfo. He's Brazilian. And you'll have a special guest called Ofu Obudobi, who's from Ghana, who's a graphic designer. And they take you through all the basic skills in Adobe Suite. I like showing this because it was by a mature student who was totally terrified by digital tools, and she ended up making a hologram at the end of the course. That's how excited she got about it. So it's kind of, you can go from like really, really scared about it and then into something. But it just, if you show the will, you can learn, you can go really far. There's lots of fun projects like using Photoshop to make horror movie posters, for example. This one I thought was funny. And animated GIFs. This one's, I'm afraid I haven't got the function on the presentation, but this one actually moves. The painting starts to come alive in front of the man's eyes. This student went on to do animation. Taking album covers that you love and reimagining them, recreating them with all the things, the different tools that you're using through photography, Illustrator, InDesign. Again, some animated GIFs that were very funny. So these, yes, they all do these little kind of goofy things, beautiful colors. And this was a student, an Icelandic student who just finished this spring, who made these series of drawings of her cupboards, exploring color. But again, she absolutely loved digital class, and that was really her tools, that was really her mode of expression. Again, beautiful color sense. So I come to the last class to tell you about, and then I'll quickly go through details of how the course is structured. So every Monday, you all have, everyone, photo and foundation, you have a course called Materials and Dimensions. And the idea for that course is that you learn about the tools and machines that we have in school, and then once you become confident with them, the second semester you really go far with making your ideas a reality, concrete. So you will go through 3 subject areas: printmaking, photography, and 3D. And you'll rotate. So this group, you'll be bigger than this because not everyone's here. You'll be split into 3, and you'll rotate through these different areas. So your photography teacher is called Matthew Avignon, and he's wonderful. He's a documentary photographer. And he's done lots of projects with light. I know what he's got planned for you. So you'll be learning how to manipulate light in really kind of unorthodox ways, interesting ways. And the students having a critique outside of the light work. 3D, you'll be working partly in here and partly in the 3D studio downstairs. Working with all kinds of tools and machines and materials, from wire to plaster to wood. This was a very ambitious photo project actually on the left. We won't be able to use the darkroom unfortunately because of the coronavirus, but Matthew's got amazing ideas to overcome that. And printmaking, these are a series of sketchbooks that were generated over the course of the printmaking course. Different tests. We ask you to keep a sketchbook all the way through that course to document what you're learning, your tests, your experiments, the things that artists and designers you're looking at. And it's the way that we assess you at the end. Here's some beautiful prints from actually this student just graduated from the Fine Arts Department. Etchings, impressions of her body, inside the body. This is an incredible project where the students really got close to product design, and what amazing things come out of thinking that way. So this was a furniture project, but she traveled a lot. She's Chinese, and she created this headrest, which, well, it's like a chin rest, but it's very, very comfortable actually. So she made the pouch, she designed it, she made all the parts that fit together. And this is an Icelandic student who made this out of paper, and she was thinking of home and how the cold in Iceland is so fierce that it enters into your bones. So anything that you have to protect you, just it wouldn't. So it eventually feels like that kind of skeleton. So it was an impression. She interestingly went on to study jewelry. And this student just graduated from fashion. And she was, from the beginning, from foundation, really, really invested in the environment, in making a statement in fashion about ecological issues. And this, it was a beautiful project. So the shoes she made here, she made holes into the bottom of the shoe and planted chia seeds, which apparently grow very, very easily, and they're kind of used as an amazing plant. So as the person wearing them was wearing the soles down, eventually the seed would come out and plant the flower. This is a photography student who was here last semester. She'll be here very soon. I made this dress responding to Kafka's Metamorphosis. So it was all kind of constrained and then turned into this kind of beautiful gown. And this was a student who just was here just last year as well. Made these beautiful shadow studies, working from the body early on in the first workshops in 3D. Okay, so you will interrupt me if there's any questions. Does that all look a bit overwhelming, all the things? I wanted to show you the range of ways that people work, and that there isn't this, like, if I have some overriding philosophy for the course, it's about you finding out who you are. There's nothing imposed on you. There's not a house style. There's not a way that we think you should be. It's about you becoming more you. So you'll find your ways, your tools, your forms of expression through the different workshops that we offer you. I mean, that's what we hope for. So this is what a typical week looks like. Ignore the titles in it because it's just a template. I'll give you, when I meet you tomorrow, I'll give you your exact schedule. On Mondays, you'll be in class from 10:30 till 4:30. So when there's an empty space, that's time that you'll be working, hopefully, or gathering things for your work, or basically doing the homework. Every class we give you a syllabus, and on there we write a course description and learning outcomes. So we are as explicit as we can be about what we intend for you to learn from the course that we're delivering. Yeah.
So if you're doing, it's called CAP? CAP?
Yeah.
Is that during will there be like a scheduled time for you to do it? Or will it be within like weekdays, or will it be in your schedule, like your classroom or something?
So when you get your schedule tomorrow, you can use that to base when you meet your supervisor for CAP, and it all depends. There's so many different jobs that you can do. When you meet, for example, it might be working at the front desk, then you would choose times that don't conflict with your classes. So it will be up to the supervisor then to like organize the times with you. Does that make sense? Some people work on Saturdays. As you saw, some students were working today in orientation, you know, so there are times. I work in the gallery space downstairs, so that's like something I oversee. So students help me with the openings or organize or putting up exhibitions, or so it happens in those windows. Does that make sense? Are there any more questions about CAP? I think you'll have a particular meeting about that though with Yosh. So these, and I went over this a little bit when I met some of you online, but how we grade here, it's the American system of grading. So there are letter grades, which translate into numbers. And over the course of the semester, we have different forms with which we assess you. So in class, there'll always be these moments of one-to-one, of guiding you, of explaining, of we're in small classes, which is brilliant. At midterm, which is week 7, so exactly halfway through the semester, we have some form of assessment. In each class it will be slightly different, but there's some form of presentation of your work. And the instructor gives you clear feedback on your strengths and what you can do to improve. And at that point, an indication of what grade you would have. So that's not, I get a copy of that, and you get a copy of that, and your teacher keeps one. But that's not the official grade that you get. The official grading process is at the end, where you have a moment, so all the teachers submit to me your grades, and then we meet with you all individually, and you make a presentation, like an exhibition, of what you consider to be the strongest work in each of the classes that you've taken. And then there's a small team of us, 3 instructors. I try and put people who haven't taught you in that. So there's somebody, it's fair, and they get to see work from other classes. Then we meet with you, and then I share with them the grades that have been given, and we discuss, and so I see every single presentation, so I have an overview of the whole course, and we have this kind of deliberation if there's any controversy, which there never really is. At every point we just aspire to be clear with you. Now attendance is really strict. Obviously we've got the COVID issue this semester, so that's particular. On each of the syllabus there's the protocol for that, so if you need to miss classes because of COVID, but essentially we need you to be in class a certain amount of time in order to award you the qualification. So 3 or more absences is failure, is grounds for failure from a course. And it's really important that you you let instructors know, you communicate, as I said in the first slide, so I know I can, you don't just disappear. We can help you, and we can help you catch up as well. Now, lateness is also part of this, and Paris is notoriously, we have lots of strikes and things like that. We're all getting here on public transport, and if you're living slightly out of the city, or you know, it's something to navigate. But the classes don't start until 10 or 10:30, so there is like ample time to get here, and you'll get a sense of it, and you'll get a sense of your rhythm. But again, communicate with us if there's any problem with that. So critiques, I invite also department heads. So you'll be showing interest already. Some of you, what department you're going. Photo students have already decided, but others of you might be, I'm really interested in fine art, or I'm really interested in the communication side. And I invite instructors or department heads from that department to see your work. So that's at the last semester, the last week of the semester. And then in the spring, this is something that we brought in a few years ago, which students really like. In the spring semester, rather than the City of Studio course, you can choose an elective in any higher level department within the school. So you're with students already in that discipline. So you could take an interior design course, or a ceramics course, or a fashion pattern cutting class, or so it's this overlap. And students learn a lot about where they want to go next from that. So you'll see in the corridor, I put up, those were all the students. There's a few of them that are missing because they didn't have we went into confinement before it was too late to get everyone's portrait. But in the corridor, you'll see a book that we made of the foundation student and photo first year student stories. So where they're from, what they were learning here, where they intend to go. It's really fascinating. I think you'll get a lot from, maybe you've just got 5 minutes to kill, or you can read it in the corridor, but it's really honest and insightful glimpses into the course and what to expect. So we will be doing the same with you, building on that as we move forward. But here's some projects that come out at the end of the course. This was a project titled Red, where a student made a book taking portraits of people taking on a name that means red, like Ruby or tons of other ones, so I can't come to my mind right now. And so they were imagining that they had this name which meant red. It was very beautiful, very intimate series of portraits. One of the strongest projects that we set was called Being Young Today. Got so many interesting, thought-provoking responses to that, not least in conversation, but then also in the work. And this student was experimenting. She was going to superimpose her mum and her own face together, but she made these in the dark room, superimposing her own face in the end. And this is by Juliet, who went into the fashion department, who made these t-shirts, who thought actually being young is a kind of, and having fun and it being free and easy is a kind of luxury, and not everywhere in the world has that freedom or liberty, and you could be in another part of the world that's war torn, or you become a parent very young because of the situation. So she printed these t-shirts that kind of gave a story of, sorry, I've slowed down for the people on Zoom. It was like, hello, my name is, and gave a story of somebody whose youth had been upturned in that way. It wasn't as easy as it is for her. So it was bringing awareness, using fashion to bring awareness of other people's experience. And this is by a Korean student who had memories of school being very rigid and strict, and her school uniform. And it's actually when I wasn't here. But yeah, when they did clean up afterwards, but I think this went absolutely crazy. Everyone threw all this paint over her. And there's this most beautiful video of her school uniform being completely covered in this color and her delighting in it. Very, very moving. And then finally, I think this might be the last slide, almost the last slide. This is a project by, she went on to do architecture. She was in the interior design department for a while. So I don't know if you've been right to the basement yet at school, but she actually did create this space. That was her digital design for it. So that was the Color Red project, and then you entered into this red environment, really ambitious. She spent hours and hours folding these papers. We had another project called The World is Made of Stories. Another animator made these beautiful little weird characters. An Egyptian student who made this book called The Modern Arab Woman. So it was brilliant. I thought, this is like, she needs to take this out in the world and make it, just giving this perspective that was hers, that was conflictual between her religion and how she wanted to express herself and be. Really powerful. Almost there. So this is something I want to relaunch. This is 3 years ago now. A really wonderful Japanese American student called Keiji proposed that we had a zine club in Foundation. So the idea, if you know what a zine is, it's just like a very low-tech publication that you can make with a photocopier around a theme. So we hosted it, it was for the whole school, and we hosted these different meetings to make these publications together. And we had, that's us being editors in chief, because we hosted a kind of open event where people came and responded to, I can't remember, we had different themes. I can show you the editions we made, they're really fun. We actually worked with 2 women who have a zine in Paris. Who came to, I'd really love to do that again if you're interested. And then finally, I thought this was, I don't know if you've got a Paris College of Art bag yet, but I thought this was pretty cool how she'd customized it. Actually, a student in the fine arts department. But that is, I've gone very fast and I've thrown a load at you, but I was just like, I wanted to give you lots of colour and images and ideas and kind of the spirit of the thing, hopefully to excite you about it. Does anybody have any questions at all about anything that I've said? Even if it seems a really small one, and one that maybe you think is only relevant to you, it might be relevant to someone else. Yeah. Well, so the thing before the coronavirus, basically, there's no excused absences, because if you're not here, you can't take part in the class. I mean, that's essentially it. There's no excused absences, right? And it's quite hard to be absent 3 weeks of time. You know, that's like quite a significant, you know, illness, which probably means you're having to juggle many other things. Do you see what I mean? So it's a really reasonable amount. I don't think it will come. Yeah.
Sorry, was it 3 weeks in a row?
Or well, over 3 times. It's 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. But I mean, I think normally one can get over an illness in a week. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. But then to come ill again, over time, basically the best thing to do is you communicate with me, and it's worked out fairly. I mean, there's nothing like inhuman about it. It does seem a bit, but yeah.
So if you're sick for 2 days in a row,
yeah,
does that count as 2 times?
It counts only as 1 time for the class. So in my drawing class, yeah, I will take the roster on Tuesdays, and I'll go, okay, Nicola's not here. That's 1 absence, right? But it's quite unlikely to be 2 more Tuesdays in the semester absent. Does that make sense? I mean, we are in particular times, and like I say, it's not, people have had over the years have had all kinds of scenarios, you know, sad ones and tough ones and difficult, when we're all there to like make it work. But essentially you need to be here. But most people aren't absent at all because they love it so much. Oh, yes, I'm going to school, going to drawing class, yes. Or wherever I'm taking you, or wherever someone's taking you that day. It's very weird with masks on because I don't know if anyone's smiling, but I can kind of tell with your eyes. They kind of squint a little bit, like you were saying earlier. Yeah. Like you were saying, you could be making a horrible face on the one. Yeah, I could kind of see. I'm getting.
Tomorrow is the planning, like
Yeah, so tomorrow, so I'm going to take you over here in a minute and give you some information of things to do. So tomorrow, those of you who are foundation students, normally you've been sent a Calendly invitation to sign up for a meeting with me. And if you haven't, then don't worry, because I'm going to give you the link. And it's very, very simple. You just have a link and you just press the time that you want. And I'm there, and there's a link to my Zoom, and I'm there. Okay. And so that's totally easy. And tomorrow I give you, so that's when I give you your schedule, your particular schedule. On Zoom, yeah. Because then I can see you. Because I was thinking today, I can kind of see you, but then it's just a bit more relaxing, and then we'll go back into, yeah.
So are we coming into
You don't, apart from what's on your schedule, do you have the, goodbye online people, I'm going to sign off now.